Okay, everyone. Well, welcome back. We are excited about our next presenter. We are moving along through our career fair, and I just want to give him as much time as possible. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of off to Jed Garner, who's a real estate agent, and he'll also, if he gets a chance, be able to share some of the things he does in the nonprofit world. So I'm going to just hand the baton off to you, Jed.
Sounds good. Thank you. As Jonathan said, my name is Jed. I go by Jedi in real estate just because it's easy to market, but I've never done one of these talks before, so we'll see how it goes. But I figured I just talk about two different sides of real estate, the technical side and then the more personal side that I think most of you might resonate a little bit more with. As far as the technical side goes, when I entered real estate, I started to realize that it wasn't just about buying or selling properties. It was more of a comprehensive approach to building wealth or leveraging assets or mainly creating a life that allows you the freedom to pursue your passions or your dreams. Um, or whether you're drawn to the idea of financial independence or entrepreneurial ventures, or maybe it's just impacting your community in different ways. Real estate offers that massive platform to be able to achieve all those dreams and goals that you have. Um, when I entered, I started realizing that real estate wasn't really an end goal. It was more of a tool that you use to help you achieve those end goals that you have, whether you know what they are now or not yet. Um, as far as getting into real estate, getting into it is fairly simple and fairly easy, but staying in it is the tricky part. At least the last time I read, there was about 3 million agents in the United States, and every month, thousands of agents are entering the market and thousands are leaving just because they can't seem to make it work. Um, so when it comes to getting into real estate, I would probably say there are three main things you should consider if you wanted to enter into real estate or try and test your luck with trying to make it. And the first one, probably the most important one, would be finding a good mentor, someone that kind of teaches you, shows you how to do it. When it comes to getting your license, it's simple in the aspects of you take about 4 tests total. The first three are online and super easy, and then the last one is a state test. And when I took all those 4 tests, they were super easy, yet none of them taught me anything I use now. All those tests taught me some important information, and I probably have used one thing in the past 3 years that I learned on that test. My mentor is the person that kind of taught me everything I know now and actually use. So, in getting into real estate, you want to find someone, it could be someone like me, or if you have someone in real estate, someone that knows the market or has been in it for a long time. A mentor is someone that can teach you, show you the ropes, and usually is a broker, someone that can kind of guide your steps and show you what to do, what not to do, what mistakes you shouldn't make, ones that can be very costly, and ones that they probably will allow you to make just because it will teach you an important lesson. Um, the second thing that I think would be very important to understand when you enter real estate is you need to be hardworking. It's not a typical 9 to 5 job, though you can treat it as such. No one's controlling your hours. No one's saying you have to be at the office at this time. You have to do any of this. You're really your own boss. So for some people, that's like a great idea. They love the idea of being their own boss and controlling their own hours. For others, that's a little bit tricky. Having a good mentor can allow them to figure out the type of person you are, whether it's you're hardworking, let you go at your own pace, or it's more of, okay, I'm going to give them some structure so that they can be successful. Um, so whatever that is for you, if you're hardworking, you'll be successful no matter what, and you probably won't be one of those thousands of people that leave the market every month. The third thing I would say is super important would be eager to learn. There's about 20 million different ways to get into real estate. 20 million different strategies, all different kinds of things that you learn when you go through the process. And if you choose to teach yourself or have someone teach you, you become a lot more successful. When I've been in real estate since the start of being in real estate, I've never done one transaction the same. They've all been different. If I didn't do constant learning and research, I wouldn't know how to do half the transactions that I did. So constantly learning and being eager to find new ways to enter real estate not only helps you learn them, but also helps you acquire new people that are eager to work with you so that you can be successful and help them achieve their dreams and goals. Um, when it comes to real estate, there's probably three main points I'd make on what it will teach you. The first one would probably be wealth development, learning how to acquire assets, tax advantages, equity growth, all things along those lines. You start to learn those pretty quickly when you do just one transaction, just because you're going to need to know all of that for your first one. It also teaches you how to start from you personally, whether you're getting into real estate for your own personal gains or just because you want to help people buy real estate. It teaches you how to start from nothing and build your way up. You learn all the different strategies when it comes to using other people's money um, to help benefit your own real estate goals and dreams, as well as helping theirs. So you learn all different aspects as far as people that are able to that have tons of money in the bank account and can start investing right off the bat to people that barely have anything, and you're able to help all different ranges of those kinds of people. And really, I never knew how to do that until I entered real estate, which taught me all those different lessons. Um, and the third thing, probably the most important thing, is the financial freedom. At least for me, it is. And this will kind of go into the second part I'll talk about, which is the more personal side. Um, like I know most of you guys are, or all of you guys are in high school. When I was in high school, I had zero idea what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know what I was good at, what my purpose was, any of it. All I really knew was my main goal was to help people. But I also knew that I would be no good at helping people if I couldn't financially take care of myself or anybody that I cared about. With that in mind, I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to get my own financial situation figured out before I start trying to do things like Jonathan said. I'm a part of a nonprofit group called Karuna Care, which is one of my big dreams and goals and passions that I like to work towards. But that being said, I spent years after high school. I knew college wasn't the route for me just because I didn't think college could teach me anything I couldn't learn myself. So I spent several years after college or after high school learning everything I could about business, investing, all kinds of stuff, which led me into real estate. And real estate not only gave me the financial freedom, but the time to do what I wanted. No one was telling me when I had to come into the office or leave. I could be halfway across the world and still be able to do the real estate work that I do now. And there are many times where I've taken trips and been able to work like I was still in the office, but I was just on the other side of the world. So it gave me that freedom to travel, which I know a lot of people have the goals and dreams of traveling the world, and this kind of gives you that. You also have the financial freedom, being able to do what you want and when you want, or to be able to fund dreams and goals that you have. And so real estate gave me a huge platform to be able to work with Karuna Care. Not only did I have the time to be a part of that nonprofit that did anti-human trafficking work, not only was I able to travel there and do missionary work and help hands-on, but I was also able to help fund them too. So I was able to donate, or the way I do it is I donate one every three house sales goes to Karuna Care. And that alone has been able to take my work, something that I do day in and day out, and be able to fund something I am passionate about and really enjoy doing. Being in real estate has also allowed me to think bigger as far as dreams and goals have been just because of all the things I have learned and the people I've met, the connections you build, the relationships you have, all of that kind of grows in the business and it's part of the business. You can't really be successful as an agent if you're not constantly networking or building relationships, all things that have led me to meet some of the most amazing people that I probably would never have met if I chose any other path in life. So, as far as a personal side of it goes, it's a great platform to kind of get your foot in the door of trying to figure out what your dreams and goals are. And then once you kind of figure those out, you're able to not only fund them, but you can have the time to actually pursue them and work on them. Because I know people in real estate that work a couple hours a week. Some only do real estate to sell homes to their friends and family. Others do it full time. Some treat it like a 9 to 5. Really, it's up to you how you do it. But if you do get into real estate, the tricky part is actually when you choose the hours you work, actually working hard in those hours. Because there's some very successful people that work 2 hours a week, but in those 2 hours, they do a ton of work. And then I know people that aren't very successful that work 9 to 5 all the time and they just don't put in the amount of work they need to, but they say they work 9 to 5. So it's really up to you how successful you are in this line of work. But working hard in it allows you to achieve dreams and goals outside of it, which is why I loved being in real estate so much. So that's my little speech. If you guys have questions or anything, I'll answer all of them.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here and giving us that information. I do have a question. You mentioned getting into real estate. Obviously, you said there's taking some tests, getting your license, and finding a mentor. Specifically on the mentor side, would maybe you suggest or recommend, like for a student interested, getting like dipping their toes and finding a mentor or starting that process of like where they're finding those tests and things, like how could a student kind of get started?
So the first beginning process is really simple. There's tons of online platforms to do it. The one I used was called First Tuesday. And essentially what they do is you they give you all the kind of books that you read and study. And after you read one book, they give you a test on it. Once you pass that online test, you get a certificate for it. Then you do the next thing for the next test. They give you all three tests online. You get three certificates, and then they teach you, or not really teach you, they show you and help you send the three certificates to the state. And then the state will reach back out and say, you're cleared for the state exam, which is in person. All you have to do is schedule it. Then you schedule it, take the written one, and once you take the written one, if you pass, you get your license. So it's four tests, and then you're licensed. The one thing that they don't tell you is if you don't have a broker, you're not signed on with someone, you'll be licensed, but you can't work. You have to sign under a broker, and the broker will teach you once you get into real estate. Um, I always thought it was a great rule of thumb to use your broker as a mentor or finding the right broker that will teach you, because you can have brokers that just hire you and say, okay, you're on your own. I'll just review your work. And you don't really know what you're doing because the tests don't teach you that. None of the things you learn, read, teach you any of that. At least when I got in and I started trying to do the work, I knew everything I had learned was not useful, except for maybe one or two things. But he kind of took me in and started teaching me step one, how you market yourself, how you do all these things. And the real tricky part about it was it's one rule of thumb is that you probably won't make a sale your first year. Your first year, you spend really just learning and writing down notes, you market yourself, you do all these things, but no one really knows who you are at that moment. So no one's really reaching out to you. They've probably received so much information from a different agent compared to you, so they're going to go to them. But finding a mentor, though, oftentimes can be very tricky. I always thought that the broker you choose to work with can be a great mentor. And so for me, that was my broker who took me in and showed me everything, start to finish, how the entire process works. And even though he's close to retiring, no matter how many questions I ask, he answers all of them. So finding a mentor could be as simple as if you really don't know anyone in the market, you could go to any real estate firm and just talk to brokers and just be like, I want to get into real estate. Would you teach me? And just get a rough idea of the type of person they are. And if they're interested in teaching, they'll sign off on it. And the moment you get your license, you signed under them. And so then they start teaching you.
Awesome, thank you. I have a kind of supplemental question on that as well. So, and I know you mentioned, some of the important things coming into real estate are things that are important to have, or like the work ethic, being hardworking. Um, what other, and being willing to learn, of course. What are some other like maybe skills, things that maybe students can learn in classes, or like are there any specific classes? Like, I mean, how relevant, for example, is like math, or anything down those lines, English, classes, writing, communication, things like that. How important are those things for our students as they're going through high school to kind of pay attention to going into this field?
Um, I mean, basic math, the you don't need very advanced math to do it. As long as you know very basic math, you'll be able to do things like figure out square footage of properties and anything like that. Um, there's really one thing I'd say you could really pay attention to was if you took an extra language, that can always be super useful just because then you have a whole field of people you can market to. I wish I had paid more attention in Spanish class just because I would have been able to use that now. But another language is always useful. The when it comes to like paying attention in English, the things that you learn in real estate are you learn the real estate language, and those things you probably won't learn a lot of in school. But as you get in real estate, you'll learn the different words that realtors use and the language they use in contracts, and you'll be able to read it a lot better. So I don't know if there's really anything currently right now in class you can do other than um, do you guys have economics classes?
I think we might, or some things similar. Yeah, absolutely. And
That might be pretty useful, just
mhm,
something like that. Because
yeah,
when you get into real estate, it's really what you do is all up to you, the way you market, the way you do anything. So at least when I was in high school, we had an economics class that had a school fair, and we all had to pick an item to sell at the school fair and try and bring in different strategies, different marketing things. That was pretty fun, but that goes a lot with real estate as far as the different strategies you can implement to market and try to reach different communities to help.
wonderful. Kind of piggybacking off of that too. Uh, with marketing, how does the marketing side of things work? So, like, what are maybe some methods that you use to kind of, especially you said, that first year is kind of learning the language and learning kind of the lay of the land, but also getting your name out there and marketing. What are some kind of maybe tips or things that you did to help kind of that marketing process of yourself?
Yeah. I was taught by my broker that you should always do 6 months of marketing one strategy before you change. Give it 6 months to actually figure out if it works or not, because it could be a great idea that doesn't work the first 5 months, but the last month does. So you give it 6 months and then you change. When I first started, obviously I didn't have any money or not much to market with, so I did something very simple and basic, which actually turned out really well. Was most people don't look at postcards, but I figured I would do something pretty creative and take 12 photos for each month, one for each month, and do a so outlandish kind of photo. Like I kind of just looked very dumb in all the photos. I won't use them again, but I did that just so that someone got it in the mail. They took a second look.
Right.
So like for the month of April, I did a bunny costume. I was in a bunny costume, not my brightest moment, but that's what I did. And I knew for a fact that if someone got that postcard, they'd take a second look just because you don't see many people just in a full bunny suit standing there. Um, and then from there, I went on to I printed a bunch of I tried 6 months of printing stickers that had QR codes on it, and I just stuck them on post lamps, all kinds of stuff. Just stuck them all over town and tried to see if people were curious enough just to scan it and get my information from it and get a little quote or something. So I did that, and then as things started doing a lot better and I started doing really well, then I went from uh, figuring out, okay, what specific market do I want to reach into that I want to try and help. And I kind of worked backwards from it, and I realized that I wanted to help people that don't own homes, have never thought about owning a home, um, but they just never had that dream of it. And I was like, well, oftentimes you may not have the dream, but it's still possible. It's not impossible to do it. You just haven't thought of it. So I thought, well, what area could I start marketing to reach that? And it was bus benches. So I started putting bus bench ads. Obviously, in the beginning, I could not do that, but as time went on, that was a lot easier to do. So it's just as time goes on, you kind of just play with the different ideas. And I did each one of those for 6 months, and if they worked, great, I kept with them. If they didn't work, I switched up and tried something new.
Awesome, thank you. John,
Blake, you mind if I ask
yeah, I
just
saw
kind of a
you on mute. Go for it, please.
curious question? Been having some internet issues, but I think we have them resolved here. But thank you so much for sharing, Jed. Had a curious question. I love how you shared how well you talked about relationships. That was one of the things you shared early on in your relationship. So that was a great thing for our students because we always talk to them about relationships and networking. And that seems to actually be a theme. I love how you also shared that college wasn't for you, but you found your path. And then I also loved how you shared how you with your business, I think it was one commission you used to help, I guess you could say the side project. So real estate's giving you like a lot of flexibility. I'm just kind of curious. I know it does, well, can you tell us a little bit more about like one of your side projects that real estate has? I know you mentioned missions and you mentioned Karuna Care. Um, what is Karuna Care?
So Karuna Care is the anti-human trafficking group in Nepal. Um, I started with them probably when I was 15, 16. I wasn't much use. I was just someone that when I could, I'd travel over there and help them do missionary work, help them with anything as far as funny stories of me being the only white person there. So I was used as bait, all the way to helping out with homework, kids with their homework, all kinds of stuff. Um, and so I got off of one trip of doing that, I just fell in love with helping people. And I realized as Bruna Care wanted me to do more, I wasn't of much use. I couldn't really do too much. And real estate was one of the ways that I could not only do more, enter their board, take multiple trips, plan different missions trips over there. Like I had all the time to do those things. I was able to also fund different projects for them. And that went along with the lines of right when I started doing well in real estate, I said, okay, the first house of every 3 homes that gets donated. So that's not mine, that's Karuna Cares. And so that allowed me to be able to fund them as well as have the time to do all kinds of stuff with them. So if I was working probably any other job that required a 9 to 5, I wouldn't have the time. I may have the money depending on the job, but I wouldn't have the time to do what I do with them. So the time was a big factor for me. And even though I'm able to spend so much time working with them and helping them, it doesn't affect how much I work in real estate. Because once you get to a certain point, you're able to have way more flexibility and work from really anywhere. Obviously, there's things with the job that you have to do in person, but a lot of it can be done online and over the phone, on computer, all of that. So you're able to travel, do all kinds of things while you're still working.
I love it. That's so fascinating. 15, 16 going to Nepal. Wow. Um, we do have a question in the chat, and it's can real estate be a part-time or a summer job even?
Yeah, so real estate is I know a couple people that only do real estate part-time. They still have a full-time job just to make sure they want real estate to be their full-time, but until they can really get going and go through that first year of not making anything, they have their full-time job that they work. And then real estate is part-time. Whenever they have free time, they work on that. I also know a couple people that only do it for friends and family. They're a realtor. They don't do any marketing, but their friends and family know they're a realtor. So anytime they want to buy a home, they just go to their friend. So there's really No, and that's the nice thing about it is you don't have anyone telling you what you can and can't do. You're your own boss. You can choose your own hours. You can do all of that. But the more you put in, the more you get out. Is the string with that.
Okay. And then your office, I believe, is located in the Central Valley, correct?
Yeah.
Does your office or any other, just kind of a follow-up question, or any other offices that you know with in your network, do they ever do any internships or shadowing opportunities for students who are like, hey, maybe they're listening today and they're like, I think I kind of would like to see a little bit more and maybe job shadow. Is this something
Yeah.
that you or other offices do?
Yep. Very easy to you could reach out to me or and I would set up a time that you could shadow, you could walk through, or if you had questions, I can answer them. It's fairly simple, and there's so many different aspects of real estate that when you get into it, you start to realize that you don't have to stay in one specific field. Some people prefer to uh, work with veterans, and that's their specialty. They're really good at working with veterans. Other people prefer to work in different areas. So everyone has their kind of own specialty. And so you can shadow someone and kind of figure out what specialty you like. Obviously, some people do all of them, they don't really have a preference, but others are very specific because they just have more of a passion or something's tugging them towards that way. And so they kind of dedicate most of their time to that specific area because there's about, like I said before, 20 million different ways to get into real estate. And if someone's a veteran, there's about another 10 million on top of that that you can do for them. So mastering those specific strategies can be amazing towards veterans. And there's just so many different fields. So shadowing someone could be a great way to figure out if it's something that you want to do.
Love it, love it, love it. Any other questions? I want to make sure I give our students the opportunity to ask any other questions before we wrap things up.
While we wait, I just have just one quick question. I mean, maybe you've already covered it, but just specifically, so like, what's your favorite part about real estate, just in
Hmm.
general?
So one of my specialties is foreclosures and evictions. And that sounds it sounds bad, but I am the only person that can help people. So when someone's going through a rough time, whether they lose their job or uh, a relative passes away, anything like that, I'm the person that can help them get through the situation. So oftentimes I get to meet a lot of people that are just had bad luck for a couple months, and I can be like, well, you can end with good luck. And I can kind of show them how to sell their home and walk away with huge amounts of equity gained and a huge chunk of change in their pocket rather than, look at it as a bad thing. And then they can buy a new home or things like that. So the way I view is I get to help people in that aspect. So that's something I really do enjoy is being the first person that offers help instead of being like, oh, you owe money, you owe this. I just walk in, I'm like, hey, I can help you. All you have to do is say yes.
Okay, all right. Um, I do have one last question, and that is a lot of our students, just because the nature of our program, they sometimes can't attend these sessions, but they'll have follow-up questions, or they'll watch the recording and they'll have follow-up questions. Is it okay if we compile a list and send them over to
Yes.
you if we get follow-up questions?
You can ask one of the things I used, my little catchphrase on all my little postcards is you can ask a million questions and I'll get a million answers. So yes, you can ask all the questions you want and I'll get you all the answers.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey today, and thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it. To our listeners, we have, I think, two more today. Blake, is that right? Two more today?
That's correct.
I know. Wow, it has been a fun ride. But yeah, so we will catch you guys at the 2 o'clock session. And thank you again. And we will see you at the next or hopefully at the next career fair, Jed. And then to our students, we'll see you at the next session, hopefully. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.